All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's see. This is such a bright, sunny day. The sun is like streaming in here, so the light might seem a little, different, but that's all right. As long as you can. Usually, I try to be really clear about what I'm saying. So even if you don't see me, hopefully you can hear my words, and they will be clearer. Let's see. We're going to work this morning in our movement, still emphasizing the work we've done with the inner thigh, and then we've been adding some work with the outer hip, all in this relationship of the leg to the pelvis, the hip joint, all of that. How we move through yoga poses affect the space of our hips, and can we increase our awareness of our the hip joint and the inner thigh and all those connections. So just to do a quick review of the territory of we're talking about the adductor. So we said we were coming from, it attaches on the adductors come from the pubic bone all the way down to your sit bone. Pubic bone to your sit bone. So even if this light is a little washed, can you get a sense of where your pubic bone is and all the way down to your sit bone? And then we were saying, and then it comes all the way across, like in the shape of a V, to the inner knee. So all of this area. And then I was saying there's a middle to this area that's on the femur itself. It's a delineated sharp ridge. So on that, we could say there's the front adductors and the back all the way down. And so sometimes we've been toning to the inseam like that. And then you can also notice as we go through our practices from here on out, like how some sections of your inner thigh maybe you're able to use better than others. So you want to watch that awareness. And then the other area that I might refer to is going to be right at the top of these pelvic bones, the ASIS, and to your outer hip, so the top of your thigh. And that territory between the top of the hip and the greater trochanter, this area is often very tight. So it's like contracted. Over-contracted, it's tight. We do a lot of sitting that has accentuated that. So we're gonna work with some awareness about that. And yeah, we'll go from there as we go through our practice. All right. So if you have any questions, you can ask me a question right now. You're welcome to unmute yourself, or maybe you're already unmuted. You're welcome to ask me a question about those landmarks.
Lynn?
Yeah.
Could you, can you have any knee pain as you're doing this kind of work?
Well, your knees are very much related to what's happening up here. So, sometimes people get relief in their knees or a change in their knees from focusing in this area because of that relationship. So you might feel a difference in your knees. So one of the things you could pay attention to is in the knee itself, where you have the shin bone and you have your femur sitting on top of your shin bone. Sometimes what happens is as those two sit on top of each other, they often are weighted differently. Like the femur might be going more weight on the inside, or maybe it's rotating differently. So pay attention, and what is that space like? Do I notice, what is this space between my thigh bone and my shin bone? So you might pay attention to that. Yeah, is there a particular pose you're thinking of that's been bothering you?
Well, I'm just noticing it in all the warrior two, you know, those different positions where we're trying to wrap the adductors towards the bone. You know, when you talk about that towards, yeah.
Okay, so you might, and is that on the back leg?
It's on the, it's more, my knees are bothering me.
Both of them, and it doesn't matter
Yeah.
if it's the front leg warrior two or the back leg and warrior two.
It's more the front leg, I'd say.
Okay, so you know, and you can, you know, on the front leg in the lunge, is it over the ankle or slightly behind the ankle, especially when we have the back leg lifted? Pay attention to that space. On the front leg is the inner, I'll often say lengthen the inner thigh towards the knee, so it's not pulling it in. So on the front leg, you're not pulling in. On the front leg in, say, warrior two or side angle, those are getting longer.
Okay.
So those might be some things, just looking at that. Maybe you're overdoing in a certain area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. Is there any other question before we begin? And you're welcome to always, you're welcome to email me a question as well. Make sure I'll type my email at the end of class in the chat box. And if you have a question about something, you're welcome to email me or text me. All right. Great. Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a comfortable seat, whatever that is for you. What is a comfortable seat for you? It might not be a cross-legged seat. But if you are sitting cross-legged, are your knees lower than these two hip points? Are they lower? And if they're not lower, can you go ahead, sit yourself up a little higher under the pelvis so that the knees are lower than here? Because if the knees are higher, it makes it more difficult to lengthen your spine. And then resting your hands, you're welcome to close your eyes or cast your gaze down. And then drop into the presence of your breath. If you know Ujjayi breathing, begin your Ujjayi breath. If thinking about Ujjayi, if you're like, your mind gets all turned on when you start practicing an Ujjayi breath, then just go to practicing a balanced inhale and exhale, the Samavriti breathing. Whichever breath you are beginning right now, balance the inhale and the exhale. And can you make them smooth, both the inhale and the exhale? Smooth at the transition. Even the pause that exists at the top of your inhale and the bottom of the exhale, where the breath is turning around, is that also smooth? It's not that you're suspending the breath in either spot, but you're simply, as you inhale and you come to the top of the inhale, there's the pause. Is it smooth as you come and begin your next exhale? And when you get to the bottom of your exhale, there's a pause. And then can you smoothly start the inhale again? So this simple pranayama technique is just one of the many practices where we use, we're trying to manipulate the thought process in the mind. We're working to become present in the here and now by bringing your mind home, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, bringing your mind home to your body. And at the bottom of your next exhale, you can release any control on the breath. Still noticing now how your body's being breathed. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. And to start the practice this morning, I'm going to chant the Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu. This chant that many of you know. If you don't know it, you'll probably learn it over time if you keep coming to classes with Sarahjoy and myself. The chant is about together, may we be protected. Together, may we be nourished. May our practice have great energy. And may it illuminate any of the darkness. And may we not hate, may we be accepting and loving. And we end it with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Please feel free to join me using the vibration of sound to open the central channel of the body. So taking a deep inhale. Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Savityam Karavavai Tejasvinavarim Tamastu Ma Vidvyashavai Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. with your next exhale, you can bow your head towards your heart. Release your hands and lift your gaze. So you're welcome to stay in your seat cross-legged. I'm just going to mute everyone's microphone for a second. You can always ask a question during class, just unmuting yourself. That's totally fine. You can do that. Okay. So now, either in the simple cross-legged seat you were in, or another option for some of you would be Virasana. So hero's pose, where you will come up on the knees and bring a block or two between the heels. Knees are together, heels are apart. I can take the flesh of the calf and move it out to the side. So either one is fine. We're gonna do a twist. And so I just want to make sure, some people, Virasana is not, this pose is really uncomfortable. So you don't have to sit in it. But if the ankles are what's holding you back, you might grab a couple of washcloths and roll them up to put right at the front of the ankle so that the ankle doesn't have to go into this deep plantar flexion position. All right, so whether you're in your cross-legged seat or you're sitting in hero's pose, please take the arms out to the side. Inhale. Exhale, reach them all the way up. Lengthening all the way up through the spine. Another deep inhale, and then exhale, release both arms. Inhale the arms straight ahead. Exhale, pull the hands towards you with the clasp. Inhale, reach them ahead. Pause there with your exhale. Your inhale, lift your arms. And your next exhale, release the clasp and you're twisting toward your right. You might have something behind you to put your right hand on. If you're sitting cross-legged, your left hand might be still in the midline, or it might have crossed over. We're just warming up, so don't feel like you need to go to, trying to find the most, right? Another deep inhale, and then exhale, come back to center. Inhale the arms halfway. Exhale, bring the hands toward each other. Inhale, change your clasp. As you draw your hands towards you, reach them away. Inhale, lift the arms. Lengthen through your sides. And then with your next exhale, you're going to rotate to your left. So the left hand comes behind you somewhere. There might be a prop that you can reach back to. Your right hand might be at midline. It might be coming across. And you might bring your attention to the top of that hip point on the right and all the way down to the greater trochanter on the right. Just bring some awareness there. And then we're going to exhale and come back to center. Resting the hands back in your lap and is dropping back into your breathing. All right, and then if you're, whichever pose you're in, go ahead and come out of that pose. And you're going to come over to downward facing dog or plank pose. Downward dog, well, actually downward dog or puppy pose. And again, we're just warming up, so don't feel like you need to go to your most extreme. Downward facing dog or puppy, whichever one you've chosen. Can you actively reach from the shoulder blades all the way into your finger pads and knuckles? And take your rib cage away from your hands. We're going to inhale forward to plank. Exhale in plank pose. So you're still broad across your upper back. Still reaching into the finger pads and the knuckles. If you isometrically draw the feet toward each other, you'll also feel how that turns on the inner thigh. Another deep inhale. And as you exhale, back to downward dog or puppy. Inhale to plank. Exhale, lower the knees. Take a deep inhale. You're gonna exhale, cat pose. And inhale to cow pose. So cat and cow, these are pretty common poses probably in your yoga practice. Can you use your breath to be the leader so that the breath begins, whichever direction it goes, right before the movement? So your breath is leading your movement of your spine. Your next inhale, come to table. And exhale, child's pose for a moment. When you come to child's pose, you can always, I'd rather have the sit bones reaching to the heels than the head reaching to the floor. So you can always stack your hands to provide some support for your forehead. And then let's go ahead and walk your hands back. And I'd like us to take an upper back opener. So we're gonna go to stump pose. So if you've got blocks, can you bring your blocks so that one of them is on like a medium height and the other one is gonna be on, it could be on, depending on your neck, you might start it on the tallest level, or it might be on also the medium level. If you don't have any blocks and you do have blankets, then I would take a blanket and roll it up. And that blanket will take the place of this block. And then you could have a second blanket or a pillow to be for the head. All right, so you're going to sit in front of these two blocks. Slowly bring your shoulder blades down to meet that one block. And then you're going to take hands behind your head. Take the chin toward your chest. And as you exhale, just begin, slowly make this journey without rushing. Without releasing the lower front ribs. Can you keep the lower front ribs down? You're just slowly coming back. There's no hurry, there's no saying this is when you should get there. So I have a little tone in the belly, like the deepest abdominal has wrapped around. So I'm just trying to keep my low back consistent. And then can you straighten your left leg? Again, keeping the lower ribs down. I still have, my head is on my block, but my hands are still near my head and my elbows toward each other. So it's broad across my upper back. And then let's straighten the other leg. So now we have both legs straight. Unless you have low back pain with this, and you'll keep your knees bent and your feet on the floor. If your head is comfortable there, reach the arms up to the ceiling. And I can be quite strong through my legs right now. So I'm reaching out the balls of my feet. I'm really active through the legs. And with the exhale, I'm going to start to take the arms towards overhead, releasing from the top of the breastbone to the collarbones, lengthening through my sides. Down towards the pubic bone. So inside the rib cage, can you let the heart also roll up towards the breastbone, towards the throat, without overarching? This isn't about the low back. This is about inside, releasing inside the body. Then let's inhale, take the arms back to the ceiling. We'll bend the elbows, take the hands back behind the head. Let's bend one knee and put that foot on the ground. Still reaching strongly out the straight leg, pressing into the heel of the opposite foot. Bring your chin to your chest. And then you might take both arms, reach them forward, and see if you can sit up without using momentum. If you can find, there you go. Great. That's it. And then go ahead and turn around. Move your blocks out of the way. You can put them back towards the top of your mat. And can you come back into either puppy or downward facing dog? So again, strongly reaching to the hands, broad across your upper back. Letting your breath still be a leader to you. Let's inhale, come to plank pose. Exhale, lightly touch the knees down. Inhale again, your exhale, lower your chest. Strong through the legs. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale to all fours. Exhale, downward dog or puppy. And again, inhale, plank. Exhale, the knees touch down. Another deep inhale. Exhale, bring the chest down. Can you keep the elbows toward the body? Strong through the inner thigh. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, there's plank. And downward facing dog again. And then let's walk the hands toward the feet. Uttanasana. Shift the hands on the hips. And inhale, come up. Exhale, hands back in front of the heart. Great. And then let's walk to the top of your mat. So we're going to take a sun salutation, another work with that. So maybe you have your blocks. All right. Hands in front of your heart. Inhale, lift both arms. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, step your right foot back. So you might have hands on blocks. You might have your hands on the floor. Notice where the weight is in the hip joints. So balance the weight in your hips. On the back leg, there's tone and strength at the adductors right as they're close, right above the knee. On the right leg, right above the right knee, those are toned. The left heel's pressing down into the ground. You're going to come to fingertips. And then when you're ready, start to make a transition upright. Maybe bring the arms to the side and pause there to breathe, to take the deep inhale, a complete exhale. Still strongly reaching through the back leg. Inhale if you like, lift the arms, lift your gaze. Your next inhale, the arms out wide. Your exhale to plank pose. Inhale in plank. Exhale, lightly touch the knees down and bring your chest down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, all fours. And exhale, either puppy or downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Dropping back in, once again, connecting to your breath, connecting to the earth. Take another deep inhale, and then with your exhale, you're going to step your right foot forward. Again, you can draw the blocks back to frame your front foot. So at the back leg, so straighten the back leg, reach down into the ground on the front heel. And when you're ready, inhale, come up. I know sometimes the internet is a little like, wonder what she said. There you go. And the arms are either wide or alongside your ears. Lift the heart. Inhale the arms out. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, step forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway. And exhale, bow. Inhale all the way up, arms overhead. Exhale your hands in front of your heart. So we're going to take another one. This one will probably be a little faster than that one was. All right, so you're still, the breath is still leading, but maybe it's not as long as it was at the beginning. Okay, so when you're ready, inhale, lift both arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, the knees might touch, or maybe you just come straight down to the floor. Either way, you're coming all the way to the ground. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, can you go seal pose maybe? Straighten the arms, lift the chest. Exhale, let's lower back down. Your inhale, all fours. Plank and back to downward facing dog. Another deep inhale. And then with your next exhale, you're going to step the right foot forward. Inhale, upright. Lift the arms, lift your gaze, lift your heart. Inhale the arms out, exhale, bow. Inhale, step forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, bow. Inhale, rise. Exhale, release the arms. Bring the arms down and just take your two fingers for a moment. Just touch those hip points. And then also, can you, on one side, also find where's the top of the femur area? If you're not sure, usually there might be just like a little sunken in spot right behind the greater trochanter. But you might palpate around to feel, okay, where is the top of my thigh bone? Find that. Get a sense of this area from the skin all the way to the bone. From the skin to the bone, not just where you're touching, but in the space in between where you're touching. And if you take your one hand and you put the heel of the hand on that hip point and the fingers just slightly in front of or toward the trochanter, top of the. So feel that space right there. You're at the layer of the skin. And then just bend your knee of that side just a little bit. Okay. pick the knee up so you can you feel that area get a little contraction? Put the foot down. Can you rotate that leg out and feel some tone? So you're like, okay, external rotation, feel that. And then even if I take my right leg out to the side, I can feel something happening. And then if I shift my weight clear over to that leg, and I feel that toning. So I go, okay, so that area is helping me do all those movements. Even the movement of just standing steady. Okay, so that area, we get a better sense of those two areas. We're gonna do one more sun salutation. And we might, on this one, we'll probably put the back knee down. So if you need a blanket, have a blanket available. If you want to cushion the knee that touches the floor. All right, so coming back to the top of the mat, one more Surya Namaskar, hands in front of the heart. And with your inhale, upward hands pose, upward hands. Your exhale, forward fold. Inhale halfway. So you might notice even inhaling halfway in that area where you were just palpating, can you make sure it's still staying broad between the hip point and the greater trochanter? Sometimes on one side, you might get this sense of like, oh, when I bow forward here, I feel my one leg want to rotate in. Just noticing, can I keep it broad between that hip point and my greater trochanter? I can even take, the web of my hand between my thumb and my pointer finger and just get a sense of like how to make that broad, even when I'm bowing forward. I was even thinking about this when I'm riding my bike, what's happening? And can I make this broad sometimes, even though I know I'm, using a lot of that area. All right, so then hands back down to either blocks or the ground. Inhale halfway. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale from the right inner thigh, lift your right leg. So you're lengthen all the way out the right leg, come up on the ball of your left foot, and your exhale, right foot forward. So here you are, low lunge. You could either have hands on blocks or hands on the ground. Let's slide your blanket under and bring your back knee down. If you have blocks, pull them back. If you don't have blocks, bring the hands to the top of the thigh. Either way, I'm going to move this one block out of the way just in case that helps you see better. But if I have blocks, I'm going to pull them back so I can keep lifting up through the top of my heart. If I don't have any blocks available and I have my hands on my thigh, I'm still lifting through my heart. And I'm not going to push into this space, but can I soften that space at the front of the hip, between that hip point and the greater trochanter. Now my front knee is going past my front ankle. I have my back knee down. But I'm going to lengthen out the right inner thigh a little bit. I'm not going to hold any tension right there. I still have my right heel on the ground. And I might take my left arm and reach it up. And my heart. And then with your next exhale, come forward and step back to plank. You can move your blanket off to the side and you're in plank pose. And just notice that front space, even in plank, is it different from one side to the other? Are the inner thighs toned right now? Are you broad between your shoulder blades? Inhale, come forward on the toes a little bit. Exhale, either lower the knees or go ahead and lower just the chest. We're all coming down to the floor. And with your inhale, so find that the inner thighs tone to the inseam and you come up into a cobra and maybe seal pose. So there's tone in the deep belly. So I'm being careful of my lumbar. But I'm also placing my awareness in that space between the hip point and the greater trochanter. Exhale, we're gonna lower down. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, there's plank and downward dog. With your next inhale, from the inner thigh, lift the left leg. Come up on the ball of the right foot. Exhale, left foot forward. You can draw that blanket back there towards the knee. And exhale, you lower the knee. If you have blocks, pull them in. Still connected to your breath. We're not tucking the tail here. No tucking of the tailbone. We're allowing the left pubic bone to release from the front of the left thigh. So let the left pubic bone release from there. If I don't have blocks, I can have my hands on my thigh. Inhale, lift your right arm maybe, or keep your hands where they are. And then exhale, release the arms and step again, plank pose. And downward facing dog pose. Move your blanket out of the way. Inhale, come forward to plank. And then exhale, take child's pose. You can draw the hands back to support the forehead. Can you lengthen your sit bones towards your heels? So that the low back is being lengthened here. And just noticing what is your breathing like. Okay. I would like to, we're going to take one more standing pose. before we do some more opening at the front of the thigh. So let's come up to standing. And we're gonna take half moon. We've been working on half moon. And one of the ways we've been working with it is really learning about how much the inner thigh can help us in half moon. So if you want to put your blocks, they're out in front of you. The inside of the block lines up with the little toe side of the foot. So that my spine can be long. Let's step your left foot back with the toes on the ground. So now you're gonna, as you shift your weight to the right, can you reach from the inner thigh all the way into the inner right heel? And then draw up the outside of your right leg all the way to that hip bone and pull it into midline. So this leg is really steady, straight, strong all the way around. And you're gonna pick up your left leg and lower your torso. Hand can come down to your block. Once you touched your block, let's take the left hand on the hip. Are you still strong in your right leg? Is the inner thigh still toned to midline? Is the greater trochanter, the outer thigh, still reaching towards the inner leg? The standing leg is strong, and you're turning. Then you bend your front knee and come back up to standing. I know there might be some instability. See what the difference is on the two legs and even above the legs. How does that feel? So we'll shift the weight to the left. So right toes are tucked under, and you're gonna tone that side of this left hip draws to center. And then when you're ready, you pick up the back leg. The pelvis is already turned when we go from Tadasana like that. On the standing leg, reach out the ball of the foot. So much strength. When you're ready, you bend the front knee, you start to turn towards the ground, and you lower your leg, and you come back to Tadasana. And then let's inhale, lift both arms, and exhale, forward fold. So there's your Uttanasana. You're going to just stay in Uttanasana in your forward fold, relaxing the head and the neck. Let's go ahead and come to the floor. You're going to bend the knees, come all the way down to your knees. And let me give you a choice for this next one. So we're gonna take either you're gonna take half Supta Virasana, or I'll show you half Supta Virasana. I'm gonna take my blocks end to end. If I have a bolster, I could sit that up there. If I don't, I'm gonna put maybe a blanket or two up there so that I've got more height. We're doing half reclined hero's pose. So in this version, if my ankles are really tight, I'll put a little washcloth here or something like that. I'm not gonna sit on my stack. I'm actually gonna bring my right foot forward, my left leg back like Virasana. This support touches right above my sacrum. My left knee staying down. And I could have a pillow or I can use a blanket. So this is one version for half Virasana. I want to lengthen. So I'm gonna lift my pelvis to keep lengthening out the front of this hip, to keep broadening that space across here. So that's one way. Another option, if that's comfortable for you, you can go ahead and go there. If that's not comfortable, then you could take a low lunge with the knee down, like we did a little bit ago. Or you might turn your blocks the other way, put some blankets up there, and go back to a version of this where we're going to straighten the legs. The shoulder blades are up on this platform. And we could try opening the hips this way with straight legs. So it's either half Supta Virasana, low lunge with one knee down, or you might have your shoulder blades up on a little stack. And you're going to try to lengthen out through the front of the hips there. And you could always do one leg at a time if you want to. Maybe I can. And if none of that works, you can ask a question, or you might find something that does work. If I might be able to see some of you if I can. And I'll give you feedback. Here, my questions to you are, if you're in half Supta Virasana, can you lift the hips? Is your knee that is lengthening, is it towards the midline? Make sure it's towards the midline. Hips are, there's a tone, not a gripping in the glutes to lift the hips. You might actually be toning the upper back inner thigh, the one that's closer to the ground, and have that help you lift up. And then let's change sides. So whether you're in a low lunge or half Supta Virasana, can you take your second side? If you've got your low back supported on blankets, make sure that, try not to pin the sacrum to that support. You sit in front of it. And then before you lie back in half Supta Virasana, is your knee in midline? The knee is inside towards midline. And is the knee able to touch the ground? Yeah, it's great to make some support for the back of the head. Can you drop back into the breath? And maybe you're in a low lunge right now. Or maybe you are practicing the one where we have the shoulder blades. That space, ASIS, the hip bones, and the greater trochanter. if you're doing half hero's pose or the low lunge, can you lengthen that space? This is fascially lengthening, not by muscularly efforting, but by putting your attention into that space and lengthening out. There's a sense of reaching. Just take a couple more breaths if you're comfortable. And then you'll come out of whichever pose you're in, the low lunge, the Supta Virasana, any of the ones I suggested. And then can you take downward facing dog or puppy? Downward dog or puppy pose. So we go back to some symmetry in the body. We had the hip joints open, and now we're taking the hip joint and we're closing it up a little bit, or we're closing that front of the hip joint. Downward dog or puppy. Can you go back into your balanced breath in this resting place of downward facing dog or puppy pose? And then if you're in downward dog, lower your knees. And then all of you can walk your hands back. So you'll be sitting and looking forward. All right. So can we take this into camel with, I like to have a lot of support for the feet. So if I have a bolster, I could put a bolster there. I have my 2 blocks end to end. I could put a bolster on top of that. I could put 2 blankets on top of that. I want there to be enough padding for my knees. So if I need to, I'm gonna put, I have a couple mats down, but I might also stand on another padded surface. And then I'm gonna put my ankles up on top of that little tower that I've built. My knees are hip distance. And when I do this pose, I'm gonna be lengthening all the way down. So from the ASIS, from that hip point, I'm gonna reach all the way down towards my inner thighs. And I'm gonna reach my inner thighs all the way down towards the earth. So I'm gonna take my hands behind me. We're gonna do probably 3 of these. So don't be in any rush here. So I'll inhale. And as I exhale, I'm gonna reach into the ground. And with the exhale, as I'm lengthening into the earth through the inner thighs reaching down, I'm also lifting my heart. And then we'll inhale, come up. And exhale, rest. And when I'm pausing, when I'm resting, I can still drop back inside myself. I don't need to even control my breath right now, but I can notice my breathing. And I'm gonna come back up on my knees. And again, we don't have to go far back with this. Bring your hands behind you. If you're able to point the fingers a little more upward, take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, reach from the lower psoas, iliacus, that space between the ASIS and the front of the greater trochanter, inner thighs, reach to the ground, fountaining the heart up. You can keep the gaze straight ahead. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, take a moment. So sometimes I think, you know, we get into this idea of like, oh, this means I need to go all the way back and I need to let my head go back and I got to get my hands down. And those, you don't have to do any of that piece. You can do this pose by lifting and lengthening, you know, and if you have any tension in the head, I would keep my chin towards my throat and really support my neck. If my neck is free and it's very comfortable, I can let it go back. My hands might drop and touch my heels, but I'm trying not to be driven by that. I'm trying to be more about listening. So let's take more on your own, take it on your own, take your own time. When you're ready, you'll come back out. And I had another moment. If you're practicing this, if you're doing a home practice and you're doing any of camel, the other piece you might add to this big stack is another pillows, bolster, blanket on top of that. Then you can just reach back and touch it. And that can feel really nice. All right, so let's go ahead and move those blocks out of the way. And let's take a seat on a blanket for Marichyasana 3. You'll take, let's go right leg straight and left knee bent. And you're gonna be turning towards the bent knee, the hand behind to support you. And let's, as the torso is turning towards that bent knee, let's turn the head back to look towards the big toe. And then we'll release that side. And let's take your other side. So hand behind to support as you're twisting, turning. And we'll keep the gaze, we'll take the gaze back towards the big toe. Are you able to really rise up and out of the pelvis? And then let's release that. Let's come to happy baby or dead bug pose. You can have a hold at the back of the thighs, the shins, the little toe side of the feet. So notice that the sacrum is on the ground, and if you can notice that area of the low back sacrum, And if you bring the knees a little closer together, is that broadening the space at the low back sacrum? And then let's release that. Let's bring both feet to the ground. And then you're going to take the arms wide and shift the hips about 2 inches to your right. Take your left leg and wrap it so that it's like Gomukhasana legs. So you're going to take the right leg and wrap it around the left, not the lower part, but just around the knee. And then with your next exhale, take the lower body and legs towards your left. Right shoulder blade is still back. The gaze can be either up towards the ceiling, or if it's comfortable, it go to the right. Back to center. Unwrap the legs, bring everything back to center, pelvis, heart, center, head. And then shift your hips a little bit left, just a couple inches left. Wrap the left leg around and twist the lower body towards the right. And then we'll come back up to center. Bring everything in midline. And bring yourself to Shavasana. And you're welcome to slowly allow your breath to deepen and mindfully transition yourself to one side and back to sitting. I want to just offer you a little pranayama when you come up to sitting. So take a seat that feels comfortable. And once you come back up to sitting, drop back into your breathing, the Ujjayi breathing or the balanced inhale and exhale. And let's take this to the box breathing, which is where you inhale for a count of whatever that is. I'll just say 4. Suspend the inhale for a count of 4. Exhale smoothly for a count of 4. Suspend the exhale for that same count. And again, so whatever the length of the breath and the length of the suspensions are all even. Whatever number that is you choose, make them even and smooth. At the bottom of your next exhale, you can release any control on your breath. Bring your hands together in Anjali Mudra. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Be well. I'm going to step forward and stop this recording, which is available. Just watch it.